Are we live? Let me check the dashboard over here. Checking stream health. 5x5 on audio. Posting social media. Stream health is green. Frame rate drops are minimal. And let's get that open speed test. See
it's
how
like a shuttle launch.
Oh, that's how we do things over here. You know, Musk has nothing on us. Yeah, I say that. I know he had a little bit of a problem with his ship the other day too. Is he? Oh yeah, I got people asking me about the stream.
Yep, it's showing as live for me.
Awesome. All right, cool. It looks like we're in pretty good shape. Let's go ahead and see how the live chat is going right now. That open speed test is running just to make sure that we are alive. Okay, and I think we are officially on right now. I think we got another 30 seconds until the live stream is official, until we're officially the #Vegas video podcast. And Ann is already in the live chat. What is up, Ann? And then Jerry also, I was just chatting with Jerry just a minute ago too, so I knew she was coming through. And then I got my boy Captain Devpool. Nah, just Devpool. That joke is exclusively for Dev. He's the only one that knows what it means. So also Canadian too, just so you know, Ray. So it's all good stuff. And
another Canuck.
Yeah, and we got Gord from live chat too coming through. All right, we got the whole crew coming through. I love this. All right, well let's go ahead and get started then. Welcome back to the #Vegas podcast. I'm your host Ace of Vegas here, and I hope you're doing well. And I'd like you all to join me in welcoming back our co-host Ray from Vacation Impossible. Ray, say what's up to my spinners and sharks.
Hey, Spinners and Sharks. It's a pleasure to be back. It's been too long.
I know. We just got to make sure those those streams line up, because you're streaming all the time now too, doing the small YouTubers boost, teaching people how to be awesome like you are.
Do what I can. Try to spread some knowledge.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. The whole thing about that is, YouTube's super intimidating for people, and that ticks me off. So I just try to, get rid of the intimidation factor a little.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely helped me out over the years too, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been great seeing your channel grow. You're creeping up on 5,000 subscribers.
Coming up on 5,000. We're working on it.
It's gonna be a big moment. You gonna celebrate? You got plans? Like
definitely.
Dinner, a party, a podcast?
I actually do have a special video I'm working on. I'm thinking it's gonna be a My Vegas video, and it's gonna be a big My Vegas video. Probably gonna be like over half an hour, so you guys be ready for that.
Nice.
So, yeah, if you guys want to see it earlier, just go ahead and let me know, and I'll just say, let's get to 5,000 subscribers, and we'll do it. All right.
That's what you do. Just share this channel everywhere you can. Tell your friends.
Right on. All right, guys. So, speaking of which, telling your friends, let's go ahead and talk about what we're getting into today. So, if you guys don't know about Ray, he is the host of Vacation Impossible, who is also a travel channel, and his two big ones are cruises and Vegas. So this whole episode is right up his alley. So if you haven't checked him out, yeah, don't forget to go ahead and check out Vacation Impossible right after the stream over here, and we'll go ahead and get you going. So it'll be
just posted a video about buffets on a cruise ship. You can go check out.
Oh, see, that's perfect, because we actually are intending to discuss that a little bit, the return of cruising and the return of buffets and the return of Vegas, and we wanted to go ahead and do a little side-by-side comparison on that over there. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get down to the topic for today. So we're talking international travelers, especially. Are we going to be cruising, or are we going to be going to Vegas? So I explicitly wanted to get an international traveler as my co-host for this episode, mainly because I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but I'm an American. In case that's ever come up, I'm American.
It's one of the good ones.
I'm from Brooklyn. I live in Colorado and all that, so I'm interesting in that way, but I rarely travel outside the United States, so international travel isn't my specialty. But Ray, you travel internationally all the time, so you go to Europe, you guys go on cruises, you come down to the States and all that. You just did a cross-country road trip through the States, I think just this last summer, come to think of it, because you came through, I think, in like July or something like that. I missed you by like a day in Colorado, down in Castle Rock.
Yeah, it was early August, I think. Yeah, we did 12 states and 2 Canadian provinces in 17 days. Yeah. It was amazing.
So yeah, no, you guys were going pretty hard because it was you and John goes on cruises with you and the family sometimes too, right?
Not yet. He's my road trip buddy. I haven't gotten him on a ship yet, but that is a goal. You see, he was in the Canadian Navy for like 11 years, so getting him back on the ocean is a challenge. But I'm going to win him over one day.
Right on, right on. Well, let's go ahead and talk about a couple things there. So I've noticed that cruise ships they've been under a lot of scrutiny there, and it's
Yeah.
just given the whole situation, the whole you know what situation, spinners and sharks. And obviously, Vegas casinos have had a lot of scrutiny too. People are really worried about that. So Vegas has been undergoing this huge overhaul here, and they're giving away a whole bunch of great stuff through My Vegas Slots right now. So just wanted to go ahead and do that. So wanted to go ahead and put that out there for you too. But also keep in mind, My Vegas also offers cruises too. So once My Vegas starts putting out those good cruises, because y'all know they do them in December, like December through January. That's when they start doing the good cruises, and those are usually good through February and March. But the real question is, everyone wants to know, is that going to be a good thing? Like Vegas' best idea is actually Gordon Tamara. They're actually coming through too, and I believe they're actually from Canada too, and they're international. So this is going to be great. All the friends and fans from overseas are here, so this is going to be perfect. And Alvaro's going to have a hell of a live stream to wake up for if he comes through. So that'll be good. All right, so that being said, so what do you think right now, as an international traveler? Do you feel like you're better off booking a cruise or booking a Vegas trip right now? What's got you feeling that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm a cruise guy. I love cruises. I see you got a picture of the Carnival Dream up here. That's one of
Is
the
that
good
it?
ones.
I just kind of picked a ship. I'm like, that looks pretty. I don't know anything about this. Like, I knew that was the Paris, just like, offhandedly. I didn't even need to think on it. Arc de Triomphe right up front and all that. That was no worries. But yeah, that ship, I was like, ooh, pretty boat. Me put in thumbnail.
Yeah, I like that class of ship. That's actually my favorite class. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a tricky question. I noticed that Vegas Best Ideas, they're from Saskatchewan. That's awesome. That's a province I haven't made it to yet. But
Robbie just...
that's an interesting question. Robbie Montana TV. Thanks for the
we got that super chat. Hang on, guys, because Hidden Jackpots actually made a new rule. Now we do super chats. We're getting shots, apparently. Let me go ahead. I'm going to let you keep going. I'm going to turn on my webcam over here so everyone can see me do a shot over here. I've got, what do I got tonight, guys? Oh, wait, hang on. That's not what I wanted. I want the video capture. You go ahead and keep going. There I am. I'm up top over here now.
Sure thing.
Guys, can I have the 99
let me know
bananas?
if I need to join in. I've got Fireball, and I can go grab one of my Carnival branded shot glasses if necessary.
Nice.
I can play.
This is gonna be a fun podcast.
So anyways, yeah, the question about Vegas versus cruises in terms of what should return first, that's a tricky one because both of them had a lot of bad press. I mean, some of the early outbreaks were onto cruise ships, thankfully not Carnival, but I mean, that was just luck, I think, more than anything. And then also there was that pretty rough interview that the mayor gave with Anderson Cooper.
Right.
And so I think like between those two, both of these vacations are facing a bit of a PR nightmare at the moment.
Right.
I think, honestly, as much as I'm cruise guy, I kind of need to give it to Vegas, and here's why. If things go wrong, a little worst case scenario planning, if something goes wrong and you're in Vegas, you've got more options. You're in control. You can get in a car. You can get out of there if you need to. On a cruise ship, you are at somewhat the mercy of, the captain and the crew and the company. Now, don't get me wrong. I trust them quite a lot to manage things, appropriately. I was recently in Grand Cayman when there was an earthquake in Jamaica. And so I'm on the island, and my first thought is I have to get back to the ship because, frankly, I trust the crew of that ship more than I did random people in Grand Cayman.
Fair enough.
Because also they had, a fiduciary interest in, my safety.
Right, definitely. If nothing else, at least it was invested.
Yeah, and they're ridiculous about safety. Like, they say it all the time, but like I do believe that they really they believe it, that they want to be industry leaders in safety and stuff like that. That's not just a catchphrase for them. So, I feel comfortable with them in that sense. But that having been said, if you're stuck on a ship and there's some maladdie running around that you're somewhat at their mercy. If I were to cruise, I would definitely get a balcony. That's
Oh,
for sure.
and coming through with another super sticker over there. What's going on, Ann? Did you want to add something to the combo there, or do I need to need to take another shot? I don't know. I'm not sure what the rules are officially. And also, welcome back to TVP, who also did the 3-shot challenge with me there. So Vegas Best Ideas and TVP have also done 3-shot challenges. So mad shout outs to those guys too if you haven't checked them out yet. But we'll see what Ann says about that.
That's on my to-do list. I got to check out that 3-shot challenge, find out what that's all about. But yeah, so honestly, I think that it's a psychological thing. And so in that sense, I think Vegas is in a better position because you have that sense of freedom. Now, that having been said, is that the way that things are going to go? It's up to so many different things. Like, for example, Carnival, the cruise line that I sail with and that I care about and know about well, they own my heart. They're
no sponsorship,
putting,
by the way, guys. This is just straight from the heart, actually. Although they should be sponsoring you. You've explained everything about how their ships work, so they should be paying you at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I sent them a cold email like ages ago when I had like, I don't know, 150 subscribers. So maybe I should try it again. I've actually been reading books on negotiation recently, so maybe I should take another at bat there. They're probably looking for some partners. I don't know.
I think they're going to need some positive press to go through things, especially considering how some of the Norwegian cruises went.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is some of the companies I don't sail with have been saying things like they could go under, and that's rough. I feel for them. I feel for the company and their employees and their customers. Carnival has said that they can make it through to the end of the year without sailing one more sail, and they'll be fine in terms of a cash positive position.
Right.
So at least they're well placed. They're the largest in the industry. They've got 25 ships, I think, at present. So they can
got a bigger
out.
navy than like North Korea does. What's the deal with that? Dang.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them toe to toe, but
no.
in terms of sheer tonnage, yes, I think they probably win that one.
Right, just in displacement.
There you go. So yeah, and I mean the thing is Carnival's been around for so long, and their safety record is absolutely amazing. So they're going to weather this storm like they have so many others.
Right.
Shortly before I got into cruising, they'd had that issue where the Carnival Triumph had lost power, and it turned out that their septic system was tied into the engine power.
Oh.
So it put a whole new definition on the phrase "poop deck." And it was mere months after that I went on my first cruise, and the cruise director's making jokes about it.
Oh,
so
okay.
they weren't
they were
hiding
confident.
it. They weren't pretending it didn't happen. What's that?
So they weren't hiding it. So you like the transparency, really. So that makes you feel pretty comfortable about the cruising too.
Yeah, and just the long history as well, and all the I've been on 22 cruises with them so far.
Okay.
And it's they always make it right on the odd occasion where something goes wrong, and I mean that's a big thing, right? Because it's easy to succeed if nothing ever goes wrong. It's what you do when there's a problem. And so that's why, Hilton always makes it right. Carnival always makes it right. So they gain loyalty from me, even if it's not always perfect. Right. It tells me sort of what their priorities are. Well, so that goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that said, obviously you guys know I do the Vegas thing. MGM's been getting my money for a while. I've been grabbing some of their money for a while, too, and I'm doing the whole Play Studios thing. So MGM's been sending me some pretty good offers. I had an extra room hanging out at MGM Grand, so I was able to get that along with my my Vegas comp. So I got 3 nights free at MGM Grand. No deposit, anything like that, and I'm not sure what they're going to do with the resort fees. Last time I went to Park MGM, they kind of bailed out on the resort fees, and I still got some pretty good stuff when I was tipping $20. They upgraded rooms and all that. So that being said, how are the cruises stacking up compared to Vegas comps right now? Are they offering you anything to try and lure you back right now?
Well, they were offering me irritating wastes of my time.
Very good. Okay.
They have something called a personal vacation planner, known as a PVP for short. And so those after you cruise a certain amount or a certain way, they kind of figure it out that you're a frequent sailor, and then they assign somebody to you. Right. And he was reaching out quite a bit.
Wait. So if you've been on a cruise so many times, they give you a casino host? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I'm not sure about. I haven't had a casino host, so I'm not sure. But this is really more like your own private, travel agent sort of thing. Okay. And so that's that can be a mixed bag because they are people and you get good people and bad people. Looks like you got a super chat there from
Yeah,
Robbie
we do,
Montana
and
TV.
I know what Robbie does, and because I know what Robbie's about. I'm gonna have a shot of this. Let me go ahead and turn my camera back on over here. I'm gonna have some of this nasty, epic vodka over here because the stuff is like turpentine. I'm gonna put in my Airbender shot glass over here. Oh man, I'm only gonna be able to do like 1 or 2 shots of this over here. So if you guys want me to do a double, like do it now or forever hold your peace, because
That bottle looks like hand sanitizer.
that's what we said last time on stream too, and it tastes worse. It tastes like turpentine. It is the worst thing ever. Also,
It's funny with all this cleaning going on. I was using a Clorox wipe to wipe down this shared space, and then afterwards, you ever get like a hair on your tongue?
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I gotta get that off, right? So I had washed my hands after using the Clorox wipe, and then I tried to get this hair off my tongue, and a tiny little bit of it got on my tongue, and I couldn't taste right for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I won't be able to take. Oh God, that stuff is awful. Drank the whole thing though, guys.
There you go. Powering through.
Oh my God. Brandon had a quick question. How do you get resort fees waived at MGM properties? Gamble. You gotta like gamble. Like they'll give you gold membership if you spend enough money, but if you're not gambling, like if you don't have like a certain spend or whatever, like on the tables, they won't do it for you. Oh, thanks, Dev.
And
yeah, appreciate it. No, go ahead.
It's very similar with cruises as well. I'm not a gambler myself. Although these days, I guess cruising is itself a gamble, but I'm not generally a gambler in the traditional sense, and so I don't get those offers. But my friend Mike, he always gambles, he always wins, and so when I'm booking a trip with him, we do it under his card number, so that we always get at least a little additional discount off. So that's one thing that's very similar about cruises and Vegas is if you gamble, you get those offers and perks.
Right.
So I play it straight without them, which I mean in a way is good because then I can give people always the perspective of like if you're just like new to cruising, you get like a similar level of treatment.
Okay.
Obviously, once you level up in the loyalty programs, though, I mean there are some perks there that are pretty sweet. Free laundry is my personal favorite. I love that one.
Yeah, that's another little difference. I never think about it. So it's just doing the laundry and all that. I'd probably pack a million bags for the stuff. I haven't been on a cruise since my parents took me, and that was decades ago.
We're gonna get you on one someday.
We're gonna get on one. Yeah, I got 2 million loyalty points. I can pick one up. It's cool.
There you go. Yeah, and I'm at 1.3 mil right now, so I can hopefully try to play at your level.
All right, it's all good stuff.
But it's interesting the question about things opening because it's such a state by state level as well in terms of what the ports are doing. So, for example, Carnival at the end of August, they're putting about a half dozen ships back into service, and they're going to be sailing out of Florida and Texas. But you'll notice that there's nothing on the West Coast. So, for example, California is being a little bit more circumspect. They're being a little bit more careful, slower to reopen, however you want to characterize it. And that's a shame because I, every year, take a cruise out of Los Angeles down to Mexico, a quick little 4-day to Ensenada. I do it every year. I've done it every year since 2013.
Right.
I don't know that there's going to be any this year. So my streak might come to an end. And it's a shame because those are the ones you can get often dirt cheap. I got a cruise, a 4-day cruise for $24 once. And it was that cruise. And so if I was to tow in the water, get back into cruising, that's what I'd like to do is a quick 4-day from someplace that's not too far.
Right.
I'm on the West Coast, so that would work for me. That doesn't look like that's going to be an option, I don't think.
Maybe not for a while. Now with the borders closed like this, it's going to be rough.
That too, but also I get the feeling that California is taking a longer approach to reopening things. And given some of the concerns that they had that cruise ship there, not Carnival, that they were, I think it ended up in Oakland or something like that. There was a lot of logistical issues around that and a lot of bad press. And so I think that it's a bit of a live third wire that they don't want to touch right now. And I don't blame them at all for that.
All right, good deal. Well, here, let me go ahead and ask you about this too then. So now that we've talked about, getting there and all that, so what kind of, are you going to feel good about being on the cruise ship? Like, what changes have they made so that, what happened, was it Royal Caribbean or Norwegian that had the big breakout on the ship? I can't remember which. I feel like it was Royal Caribbean.
Princess?
It was Princess?
I think it was Princess.
It might have been. So
that was the one in Asia, I think.
Right. Well, there was another one that was coming through because they didn't let them import in Jamaica. Then they got stuck in Spain and all that. It was crazy.
Yeah, there's been a few, and so that's Yeah. that's,
Right. Now, they're just given
that's
how
tricky, I
many of
feel.
those, like, what are the cruise lines doing to make this better? Like, should I even bother going for that 500,000 loyalty point cruise when it comes up in December? I mean, those are really popular rewards, but I kind of feel like those are going to stay on the shelf for a little while, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, that is a concern because I've read about what things that they're talking about doing, and it's not that much. They talk about like more frequent cleaning, which every
Everybody's
company is
doing.
doing now. McDonald's is probably doing that. Everybody's doing that. And of course, they give the advice because you can't make customers and guests do something. They give the advice of, oh, wash your hands more and things like that. But ultimately, it's not a big change. I had an experience where I was on the Carnival Breeze, a sister ship to the one in your picture
Right.
right there,
Okay.
and apparently there had been a minor outbreak of something on the previous sailing.
Hmm.
So they had slightly changed their buffet protocol for the first half of our week-long sail, where we couldn't serve ourselves anything. There was staff at all of the buffets, and they handed over the food. They would plate it for you. And so initially that was frustrating because it was much slower.
Right.
And because it's a truly international cruise, sometimes there'd be language barriers. So, I ask for ham and I get bacon. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm having bacon.
Right. Well, what do you call it?
um,
Canadian bacon up there. We call it ham down here, so you know.
that might have been part of the factor there.
So
And
they knew you
so,
were Canadian.
exactly. So it slows it down, and so I'm assuming that they're really just shifting to that protocol. I can't imagine that it's very different. I've read through on Carnival's website their various statements. It talks about deep cleaning overnight and more frequent cleaning, but it doesn't sound like anything drastic. I haven't heard an official statement that they are sailing at a smaller capacity or that they're closing seats in restaurants or anything. I haven't heard anything like that, at least for Carnival. That's sort of my expertise.
Right.
So it doesn't sound like they're doing a whole heck of a lot. And so that's the thing is like places are slowly reopening. Hopefully we've successfully flattened the curve and all of that's wonderful. But when you really think about the actual enemy we're fighting here, we haven't actually dealt it any bloody blows. We haven't really won any ground. We've just slowed its advance into our territory.
Right.
So as much as I love cruising, I'm a little hesitant to get back to it. I will get back to it. That is a certainty.
Because you're a
But
hardcore cruise goer.
well, I am, and I mean, there's nothing like that balcony, sitting out on that balcony, with your free food, and it's fantastic. It's calming, relaxing. I love that first step onto the cruise ship, and you feel your stress just flow away because all you have to worry about is what am I going to eat next? That's your biggest decision, and versus everything on land. I say that your worst day at sea is better than your best day on land.
Right.
Because of it, just that. But, I feel like we, might be worth waiting for a vaccine for something like that.
Just to
Whereas
kind of
again,
reduce the probability of big breakouts and kind of control things a little more.
yeah, and also there's that psychological feeling of control. It's like, people say that flying is so much safer than driving, and statistically it is.
Right.
But why does it feel so much worse? And it's partly because you don't have your hands on the wheel, I think.
No, this is true.
And you can't just open a door. You can't just bail on a plane. And so I think that's going to be a big factor and part of it. So we will be back, but it might not be until after a vaccine. And also, like the things I'm hearing about them doing in Vegas in terms of like putting out those sort of shields at the poker table
Right.
and like closing every other seat and shutting down every other slot machine. It seems like that's going, a few steps further than the cruise industry is right now, partly because they have those options. Whereas I think because it's a confined space, they don't have as many options on a ship unless they wanted to sail it at like half capacity, and that
Right.
becomes a big
Other
financial challenge.
Right, because otherwise you're just, you're either limiting the boat size or you're just telling people, like, oh, you can't come in yet until somebody goes back to their room, basically.
Yeah, so it's tricky. But that's sort of where I think I see it going. But I do think that there are a lot of commonalities between Vegas and cruising, I think, and I suspect that sort of economically is that we might see some of those that were a little shakier get sort of eaten up by maybe the larger organizations that have the deeper pockets and lines of credit to ride out waves like this. So it might cull the herd a little bit, and maybe reduce some of the variety of options that are out there, I think, in both areas.
All right, definitely. Okay, so yeah, if we're looking at that, then so when are you really planning your next cruise? Then physically, if the once the borders open, is that definitely is that something that you might advise your fellow international travelers if they're kind of stuck between, oh, should I go to Vegas, or oh, should I go cruising? What do I think, or
Well,
what do you
I
think?
got two. Yeah, I got two thoughts on that. One is, at least in terms of vaccines, it sounds like there's something in Cambridge that could be ready as early as September. So that's an exciting thing that I'd be keeping my eyes on because if we get a vaccine starting in September, then cruising in December makes a lot more sense. So that's one factor. The other factor is if you're worried about booking a cruise, I would say go ahead and do it. I had a cruise booked for October where I'd put down like a $200 deposit and that was it. And that got canceled on me. And so they gave me an option. They said, "Did you want that money refunded? Or you can get it in future cruise credit. So I can use it for a future cruise."
Right?
And if I did that, they also gave me an additional $600 of onboard credit.
Well, 600. So you made back. So you're putting that down there, and you're gonna get like $600 in onboard. What can you do with onboard credit? Is it like free play? Is that taking your wife downstairs to take her shopping? Is that for restaurants? What do you do with onboard credit?
It's pretty much everything. It's sort of the currency of the ship. You can use it to book an excursion in port if it's through the cruise line.
Okay.
You can use it to buy, soda, alcoholic drinks, the fancy restaurants. I mean, a lot of the food on the ship is included, but some of the fancier things cost a little extra. And boy, is it worth it, let me tell you.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you can use it in the shops, you can use it in the casino, you can use it all over. They don't take cash. You have your ship card, and your credit card or your debit card is normally associated with it. Some people actually put cash down. I don't recommend it because you spend time in line dealing with the cash.
Right.
But that's how you pay for pretty much everything. The only thing it's not good for is tipping entertainers like the comedian or the musician. You got to have like cash for them because they're not set up on that system.
Right.
But pretty much everything else on board credit is king. And so it's kind of a running gag in the cruise community when somebody complains about a total non-issue. We're like, oh, you're just trying to get cruise credit. You're trying to get
Right.
OVC.
Yeah, they'd be like that. Okay, no kid, what's up? Good to see you. Good to see you in the live chat there. So that being said, then you said you put $200 down. How much is the cruise still like $1,000, or are they
Well,
like
that
reducing rates now? Is it getting closer to like $600 for like a full cruise? I mean, if they're offering you like 125%, I think James mentioned, who was it in the live chat that mentioned they got 125% back after they had to move the reservation. I think it was Vegas Best Ideas. I think Tamara actually said that.
Well, and there's been a lot like that going on, and that's one of the things. So I'm like, if you're worried about booking something, I say go ahead, because if it gets canceled, or if you're just not comfortable going, these lines have been super reasonable and accommodating. And like in my example, I'm up $600 just letting them hold on to my 200 for a little while.
Okay.
So I mean, that's a hell of a return. And so I am seeing that a lot of the rates are lower than I've usually seen them. There was that one time I got a $24 cruise. I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing 3-day sales as low as $89.
Okay.
So that's, I
That's
mean,
like
and that's
$89
before
a night, right?
taxes and stuff. What's that?
That's $89 a night, right? Or I guess you guys go by
No,
days.
per person.
$89 a
Per
person.
person, but for the whole thing.
For the whole thing? For how long?
For 3 days. I wouldn't do a 3-day. That's too short for me. It's got to be at least 4 days. But that's $89 for 3 days. So it's before taxes and it's per person. But that works out to like $30 a day.
That's
I will eat
really
that
good.
much in free steak at the restaurant.
Right, straight up.
So, there are some fairly amazing prices out there, and like I said, the risk of putting down a deposit, I think, is low, because they've been so understanding and so accommodating about things that it's pretty good. And so, yeah, some of the prices are really compelling right now. And it makes sense. They want to stay cash positive too. They said they can last till the end of the year, but they don't know if this will go longer. Ooh, another super chat.
Yeah,
Pennies for Vegas.
Yeah, that sounds like Mark, who was supposed to be on the episode today, but he had a little bit of a scheduling conflict, so we're just glad he was able to drop by the live chat. Good to see him, Mark. I guess that means we are having a shot of. Oh, I'm gonna do 99 bananas. I'll save the epic vodka for the last one, but this actually tastes good, so we're doing that.
but we're talking cruise prices here, and I'm looking at some numbers, and some of these numbers are insane. I haven't looked at this in a while. This is blowing my freaking mind. There's a 7-day sailing for $163.
7 days?
That
That's
is
actually not too-
23. That's less than $24 a day. That is insane. I will eat more at breakfast. I will get that back at breakfast.
That's pretty good, actually. That was actually really good. I might get more 99 banana liqueur there. That's something else so you can get on the ship.
Well, after your last one, you deserved a good one, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God. I am seeing a 10-day sail out of Australia for $318. That math is easy. That's $31.80 a day.
There you go. I mean, that's sounding really good, right? So it sounds like it's really competitive with Vegas right now.
So what my recommendation is feel free to go and book something with a deposit, but don't fall in love with it and guarantee that it'll happen.
Right.
Is what I'm thinking, and just really like stay fluid, stay loose, keep an open mind. But yeah, it's almost like an investment. And actually, speaking of investments, when you invest with Carnival, if you buy 100 shares of their stock, you get additional onboard credit when you sail. And their stock.
How do I prove that I have 100 shares of their stock?
We've got a video that tells you all about that.
Oh, there you go. We'll have to put that in the link in the description box below.
Yeah, basically you fax in the information is sort of the short version.
Okay.
There's a particular kind of statement that you can get from your brokerage or whoever, and you fax that in. I know, fax, right? I think they started accepting emails recently.
Okay.
And what I recommend is also bringing a photocopy just in case, because there is sometimes where shoreside and shipboard, the information kind of doesn't get across, and it takes it sometimes takes longer than the cruise to get that sorted. So as a backup plan, yeah, that's a good idea. Now, I'm here on the West Coast. It's 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, we show our appreciation for the medical professionals that are working hard during this crisis.
Oh,
so
you're
you
howling
might be hearing
too.
some what's that?
Oh, you're howling too.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we
I'm
always have that at 8
clapping.
o'clock around here. So it's good. Good stuff. Absolutely.
So just want to say thank you to all the medical professionals, first responders, grocery store clerks, delivery people, pizza guys. You're getting us through this, and
yeah, some of which are in the live chat right now. I'll embarrass Jerry again. She's a nurse, so she's on the front line. She's flattening the curve coming through for us. So much love to you, Jerry, as always. I know Tony comes through and watches the videos too. I'm not sure if he's in tonight too, but I know he's an EMT and he does that sort of thing too. So, I remember what y'all tell me. I don't remember everything, but I remember what y'all tell me. I don't get to say everything, but
And we got the gratitude on tap because we do appreciate it. I've always felt that nurses should be thanked similar to armed services people, where we say thank you for your service. So to all the nurses listening, thank you for your service. It's even in the best of times, what you do is bloody impossible if you ask me. So I'm in awe of what you do.
Yeah, right there with you, man. I know. All right, we're at the top of the hour over here. Any final thoughts on this one before we get into the fun analytical portion that we're probably going to be the only ones that have fun with because it's a lot of numbers?
I don't know. Buy a local nurse a cruise today.
Yes, do that. Absolutely. So you're thinking, hey, go ahead and book something now. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. You're not out in
yeah,
money,
and actually,
really.
what I was saying when the 7 o'clock clapping rolled around actually was that the cruise stocks are taking a beating right now, so you can get it at an all-time low. And the thing is, these stocks perform. I am not making any guarantees, of course, but I've monitored them over years. I have a complicated history. I was born in the U.S. I'm a Canadian citizen. I never got a social security number. It's a whole thing. So I cannot actually buy stocks without going through insane loophole, so I can't even do it myself.
Right.
But I would if it were easier, because right now it's so cheap, and over the years it has paid out dividends, I think, every quarter for as long as I've been watching it. So it seems to be a good investment, generally speaking. And then on top of that, you get the onboard credit every time you sail. I've spoken to numerous people who, between knowing how to get a good deal, being in the loyalty program, getting a casino discount, and the onboard credit, they get paid to cruise functionally. They come out ahead.
Oh, that's actually
and
really
that's
good.
one of those key pieces.
Nice. All right. Cool. Oh yeah, if that's the case, then well, hey, we'll go ahead and consider that. And don't forget, guys, they're really flexible with the cancellations right now too. I think before it used to be you had to cancel before 90 days or something absurd like that. Now you got like up to 72 hours. So
For cruises, yeah, it really kind of depends. It depends on when you're sailing and what the local government orders and stuff like that is. But I know that like airlines, for example, have been really flexible, and I think they're looking at that 24-hour window
Oh,
fairly
Southwest is
consistently.
giving me up until like 10 minutes before the flight right now, actually. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I mean that's something that doesn't cost them very much, and it would be nice if some like more flexible cancellation and transfer policies stuck around for a while
Yeah.
afterwards.
See,
I
that'd
think
bring
that's
a
one of
lot
the
of faith back. That would definitely get me booking more cruises, and I'd book like Vegas vacations every other month, honestly. So,
I see in chat we've got George Arnoldson is asking favorite cruise line and ship. I have to give it to the Carnival Breeze. I love Carnival. It's all I sail with. The Dream Class is fantastic. They've got this Deck 5 on a Dream Class is amazing. They've got hot tubs all around the outside that half hang off the side of the ship. Most people don't even know they're there, so you can easily go have a fairly decent sized hot tub all to yourself with an amazing view. I absolutely love the Dream Class, and the newest of those is the Carnival Breeze, so I have to give it to the Carnival Breeze for favorite ship.
get on the breeze, guys. Get on there. All right.
And she's one of the ships coming back in August.
Oh, beautiful. So, yeah, that'll be good. So, we'll be ready to sail in August, ideally. But let's go ahead and see how that goes.
If you're sailing out of Florida or Texas, anywhere else it gets dicey. New York and California, for totally understandable reasons, have not opened their ports yet.
Right. Makes sense. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little more about casinos then. Let's get back to the Vegas half of Ace of Vegas over here. So this one I'll actually be able to... Actually, I should hide my webcam over here. So there you go. Now you guys can see what we're talking about today. Quarter 1 reports are in, and they're looking, to be frank, a little nasty for our friends at MGM, Sands, Wynn, and Caesars. You guys can't see Phil Ruffin and his holdings because Phil Ruffin is where he belongs, in the trash. Because you guys know that Phil Ruffin is trash for previously disclosed reasons. I will not be supporting Circus Circus nor Treasure Island when I return because Phil Ruffin is absolute trash. I hate the idea of him making any more money, but that's a video for another day that I keep saying I'm going to go ahead and do, but, you know, it is what it is.
I definitely would watch that video.
No, I'll bring it up. You know, he's the worst part of human garbage, I got to admit. VBI's dropping off. See you guys. Y'all take care. Everybody hopefully made it in before the curfew goes down, which I'm 30 years old. I haven't had a curfew in like 15 years. I am like almost offended by I'm straight up offended by the idea. This is obtuse, but we're not here. It's not a political channel. This is about Vegas, and we're going to talk about Vegas. So let's go ahead and get into that. So just looking at the Q1 earnings reports from Caesars, MGM's, Sands, and Wynn, things aren't looking super pretty right now. So I'm wondering which casino company do you think is gonna make it through the? And there's another siren over there. Yeah, there we go. Might even be going down to the protests at the Capitol. That's only about 2 miles from here. So yeah, which one of these casinos do you guys think is gonna make it through the shutdown? Honestly.
I mean, I would think MGM is the safest bet just because they've got such diverse holdings and such strong holdings as well. I think that their brand recognition is like super solid. The association with that brand is almost completely positive.
Right.
Whereas something like the Sands, you hear that name and you think of like an older style. And Wynn, you kind of tie to the man, and that can be good or bad depending on what's going on.
Depending on how you feel about them, right?
Yeah, and I feel Caesars holdings are just not quite as strong as MGM. So, I mean, I think the safe money is MGM out of those four, and I think the weakest is the Sands. But I kind of don't know a lot about what I'm talking about. I'm the cruise guy.
Well, you know, I mean, it's all good. That's good. It's good to have, like, public opinion, personal opinion, just, like, knowing what the average person knows.
The man on the street?
Yeah, man on the street, you know, just, like, personal opinion, because part of it is, indeed, public perception. So, obviously, Wall Street's going to have their impression, too, but... You know, if you're not feeling super confident about a casino or what have you, or a particular brand, you're less likely to invest in that brand, and you're probably looking at, you're probably missing out on a lot of money as that company if there's not a lot of public faith in the brand, just even because of superficial reasons, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I also just think like, what if some of these companies were to disappear? If the Sands went away, Vegas would still be Vegas. If Wynn went away, people would notice, but Vegas would still be Vegas. Same for Caesars. But I think if MGM went away, Vegas would be so incredibly different, more so than the others. I think the iconic imagery that we picture when we think Vegas is MGM. I think that's part of it. I'd also caution people to not put too much stock in stocks in terms of that being an indication of
Too
their
much stock in
actual
stocks.
health.
So let's run it back there.
Yeah, you can use that phrase if you like, copyright 2020. No, but I think that people need to remember that like stock prices are really driven by psychology and what people and investors think the future might hold. And with everything going on right now, whether it's viruses or civil unrest or whatever you want to look at, it's kind of a really shaky time. The real fundamentals are their holdings, their earnings reports, the dividends they pay, and things like that.
And I actually happen to have the earnings
I think,
reports in front of me. Believe it or not, the first quarter. Yeah, that's the first quarter earning reports there. So okay, so who do you think had the best first quarter earnings reports? If I read this correctly, which I may or may not have read it correctly because I'm not a stock guy. I'm a numbers guy, but I'm not a stock guy. Who do you think did the best as far as first quarter earnings in 2020?
Yeah, you got me. But I think Host makes a really good point in chat saying that Wynn kept their employees on payroll through the pandemic, and so they don't believe they would do that if they were hurting bad. And I think what I would like to add to Host's thought there is that also, I think, garners huge public positive relations there in terms of keeping the employees on the payroll. And so I would like to think there'll be a positive association coming out of that. That's goodwill that you couldn't get any other way.
All right, there you go. That's a good point right there. So just looking at the operating income, so non-operating income and net income came in at about, let me see what the very bottom says. Income before taxes was something like $900 million, I guess in the first quarter or something obtuse like that. And then there was a provision for taxes, so they lost like 132. And ultimately it's something like... where's the total? Shareholders' equity. It was something like it's something like $500 million they came in, but they were also lost some money in some places too. So MGM financially is doing pretty good, all things considered. If we're talking about just turnover on the table games and all that, their earnings per share were lower according to this report here. It was about 45 cents per share lower than they anticipated. So it was a little rough there. But as far as just straight up strip resorts go, they pulled down about, let's see, it looks like in stocks they handled about $2.4 billion. And they were running about 88% occupancy for quite some time.
Sure. Well, and it's important to remember that this would be covering the period from January to March of this year, correct?
That would be, from January to March. That is first quarter.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of places really got the gut punch in April. It was starting to be felt in March, but I think April was the real gut punch for a lot of them. So this is only part of the picture, of course. But those numbers are more positive than I was expecting. And also, I was kind of impressed that their tax liability was so low.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's also, I think it also kind of stems from the fact that they did sell off Circus. And they pulled about $900 million out of our quote unquote good friend Phil Ruffin. Like someone take a shot. Take a shot every time I say Phil Ruffin is trash. You're not going to make it through the live stream. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I hate to do that.
Bad time for alcohol poisoning. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. I'm sorry. He's just trash. So MGM is actually in a pretty favorable position. They technically sold Bellagio and MGM Grand, and most of their properties have been sold to Blackstone, but they're still operating them and all that. It's this really complicated kind of leaseback agreement. So they're cash positive. They're liquid right now. They're in pretty good shape. So there's that. Caesars. So from a surface perspective, you're saying Caesars, they're not so bad. You weren't expecting them to be a huge hit, but Caesars actually owns about eight properties on the Strip.
Sure.
So they actually do have a pretty large portion. Since MGM's got like 10, they've got like a third of the Strip. I think
I would have put Caesars at number 2.
You would, yeah. They have a really big holding. So if something happened to them, that's a quarter of the Las Vegas Strip that's gone. So, and here's the thing about them. They're
True.
not doing a great job right now. They're actually sitting at about $66 million in losses. Partially because of the drop off in revenues because of the COVID-19 situation. L&D is asking for those thumbs up. Thanks, guys. Appreciate those likes. Go ahead and drop a like every time that I say Phil Ruffin is trash. That you can do. You don't drink, just drop a like. That'll be good. But yeah, Caesars, they were really kind of holding on the idea of their merger with El Dorado because they were fighting against bankruptcy, digging their way out of that. They weren't seeing as much revenue coming through. They were doing a lot of work on the casinos and all that too. They're not doing great in Atlantic City. Atlantic City has been kind of a drag for them, honestly. And their stock is the lowest out of all of them. Currently, MGM's sitting at approximately $17 a share, whereas Caesars is sitting at $11. They're on the rise, but they dropped down to I think something obtuse like $3 a share, where they were last year before the merger got announced. So they're in pretty bad shape. So Caesars is sitting. They're pretty much dependent on the El Dorado acquisition right now. So if that goes through, I think they're going to make it through. If it doesn't, I don't know what Caesars is going to do.
And, I have to say that I've seen some of the videos that they've been interviewed by members of the press at Caesars. And I did get a sense of some desperation behind their eagerness to reopen. I think that did kind of come through. Yeah. And so I am a little concerned about them.
Well, you got to keep in mind, too, because they were the last ones. They were the holdouts. They didn't intend to close until the governor said, hey, shut those down. And they're like, and he's like, hey, shut those down. And they're like, all right. It was just kind of one of those.
It was just really bad timing for them because they were in a precarious position. And so, of course, they're going to be super reluctant because their business is at risk. I feel for them. I really do.
Yeah, no, you see, MGM, they drafted me a nice little letter. They're like, yeah, enjoy the pool tomorrow. We're booting you out at noon. On on
quick.
Tuesday.
They were quick and decisive and clear. I give them points for that, as much as I'm sure you didn't like getting that letter.
Oh no, I mean I was leaving Tuesday anyway, so I wasn't heartbroken over it. It was just like, oh, they gave me a Dear John letter. I've been coming here for like 8 years, and I got a Dear John letter.
Totally
from
what
him.
That was,
right? I was a little upset about that, but So we're going to go ahead and see if the El Dorado acquisition saves any of my Caesar stock. Oops, did I say that out loud? I'm not sure if you're supposed to talk about that, but I mean, I got some in the portfolio. I'm sure everybody else has a little bit in the, everybody diversifies their investments, so whatever. I got a little bit of everything in the portfolio. It is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about Wynn, though. So you said you had a lot of faith in Wynn.
Well, if I had to rank them, I would say MGM is number 1 for strength, Caesars number 2, Wynn 3, and Sands 4.
Right.
That's my ranking.
That's right. All right. So yeah, Wynn, they're actually, ironically, they are the strongest if we're talking about stock, and again, that's partially the public opinion thing. So you have a pretty high opinion of them because they paid their employees for the last 2 months. Their employees have only not been getting paid for the last 2 weeks because they only went through, I think, the 16th. Or the 17th or something like that. But they had been paying them full-time. I think they were paying basically everybody full-time, including tips and everything in there for about, since the 15th through the 16th of March. So, because they shut down on the 16th or the 17th. I'm trying to remember. It was during my birthday trip when I was out there with the Vegas Paradise and Sin City Nerds and Hog and 2 Cent and all of our friends there. That's about when they shut down because they were the first ones to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and shut this down like a circus clown. No circus puns intended, but they're ready to close for it. And they did. And their stock took a hit, and I'm sure it's still kind of partially plummeting from the whole Steve Wynn thing, but they're still doing pretty good right now. They're sitting at $81 a share. That's not a cheap stock. As far as I know, it's not a cheap stock. It might be to some people, but $81 a share, that's a good price for a stock, in my personal opinion, if you ask me. So
I don't know that Carnival ever got that high.
What's Carnival sitting at, like $10 a share right now? I think I have them in my portfolio too. Let me go ahead and check that. But how much?
I'm afraid to look. For the longest time, they were hovering around 50 before all this stuff happened. So that's the baseline to compare to.
All right, so baseline is 50. Let me go ahead and check here. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the personal portfolio. I'm not going to tell you how much of what I have in it because I'm sure that's probably bad juju.
Share your screen.
Right?
Share your screen.
I'm on the
No, I'm kidding.
phone. Okay, it's sitting at something like $14 a share right now.
So that is, and again, like that is an amazing opportunity to buy. It might sound a little opportunistic, but that's how you make money. Because like what would have cost you $5,000 would now only cost you 1,400. Like, and you'll make that back in OBC quickly. And then when they get back to full strength, you'll get that back in dividends again
Oh, there you go.
over a period of several years. Yeah. But I think that's a strong buy.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of down. Like I said, I picked up some of it. I'm not an investing expert, and I'm not going to tell you guys what to do with your money or anything like that. But, hey, sure, go ahead and, get down with it if it's something that you're into.
Yeah, and I am just expressing a personal opinion. And like I said, I'm in a situation I can't even buy myself. But if I were able to, I would to get to the 100 shares, yeah, and then I would stop there just so that I could get that OBC. But is it because I think that if any cruise line is going to survive it, it's going to be Carnival. They're the biggest. They've got the deepest pockets. Right. So I think what we're actually going to see is they're going to start gobbling up other cruise lines, I think. They're already like multi-tier. They've got a bunch of different names under them, but I think that's what I think that's the direction things will head in. So I think there's going to be instability for at least another year, but then they're going to come out of it real strong, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, but let's talk about Wynn's earnings over here. Wynn's earnings kind of surprised me because they didn't do as well. If I read the report correctly, as far as operating income, they were negative. If I read this correctly. So it looks like if we're talking net income or loss attributed to Wynn Resorts Limited, I question this. I don't feel like they'd post a loss of $377 million, but their earnings in March 2019 were $172 million in net operating profit. So it looks like they might have a net operating loss of $377 million. Here, I'll tell you what. I'm putting the link that I got from the official Wynn website in the live chat over here. So you guys can go ahead and run this for me. Run those numbers. Let me know if I got that right. Let me know if I got that wrong. But they're hurting right now as far as money goes. And they've got but here's another thing. They've got a lot of property invested in Macau, Encore and Boston Harbor they were trying to get rid of too. So they've got a lot of really high-end properties that are kind of working with that high roller market and all that that's just aren't coming through right now. So, but here's the other thing. Despite the fact that they're losing a lot of money, they have a really great public image right now. Since they did get rid of Wynn, they did pay their employees through most of the shutdown over here. They were some of the first to say, hey, you know what, it's irresponsible to get over here. And honestly, when we did the tiering video, I did a live stream with all of our spinners and sharks over here to go ahead and decide who deserves the most support and who doesn't. You know what? When they made the A-class, they were top tier. So there's that. I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize. I was just reading the report here about how they were closed for 15 days in February in Macau and then reopened on the 20th at a reduced capacity. I mean, it's interesting that all this talk about Vegas and stuff, it would be interesting to look at other places like Macau to see what kind of predictive value that might have, to see what they've been doing and what's worked and what hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Macau's an interesting thing, too. To quote Mayor Goodman in the Anderson Cooper interview, Las Vegas isn't Macau, which
it's not China.
It's not. Yeah, Las Vegas isn't China. Which she's right. It's physically not. And what I hope she meant
to quote
by
Anderson Cooper, they're still people.
They're still people. They are still people. So yeah, no. So what I hope she meant by that, and I'll play devil's advocate over here. What I assume she meant by that is that it's a different market and different things happen in Vegas. People sit together in Macau, like they're there for gambling, and that's pretty much it. They like to play their game a certain way, a certain style, and Macau and Vegas are two different animals.
That's gambling, true. I think they appeal to different economic niches and personality types.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, gambling's the big thing over there. Gambling's a small part of Vegas, all things considered. It's like a third gaming, a third rooms and board and all that, a third entertainment nowadays, like restaurants and all that good stuff. So that's kind of that's kind of what we're at now. I mean, does infection still spread the right way? It doesn't matter if you're American, Chinese, European, whatever. Like you're human. Infection still spreads the same way. So Mr. Cooper's correct over there, but in the most
The
literal sense.
psychology can be
The
different, and
psychology
the
is
reason
definitely
for
different.
going, and so the things you base your decisions on can be different. That makes a lot of sense.
Correct, yeah. So in the most literal sense of the word, Mayor Goodman is correct. In the most literal sense of what she said. If we're being super literal about it. But who knows what happens with Wynn over here. So if they can bounce back in Macau, I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. And they had some really great years in Macau before this. So I'm sure they've got some liquid assets that they can hold on to. But let's talk about Sheldon Adelson, big man on campus over here. How do you think he did?
Oh, you got me.
So
I got
Sheldon
nothing on this one.
Adelson, he's the guy that runs the Sands over there. You said you didn't think about the
Yeah.
Sands. You probably think that, so you don't think much about Vegas Sands Corporation, but here's what Vegas Sands Corporation is. It's the Venetian. Now, what do you think about when you think of Venetian?
Get nice high end. I've never been able to afford to stay there, but I'd love to.
All right, then we'll work it out.
I also think about the Palazzo. I don't know.
All right.
I'm not sure where you're driving me on that one.
All right, no, I just wanted to go ahead and see which direction we're going. So it looks like their ultimate net income or loss was only about $1 million. So they only lost $1 million. Not such a bad deal. All things considered, Adelson can pay that out of his pocket. Speaking of out of his pocket, he's actually been paying his people out of his pocket, apparently, or through the company. I'm not sure which. Anyway, though. But no, he's been paying everybody who works at Las Vegas Sands through this whole shutdown, and also included some contractors and some of the high-end restaurant employees and all that. So people that don't even legally work for him, he's been paying them too through this whole thing. So Sands,
And, people remember stuff like that.
right? And here's another thing: Sands gave away 50,000 free nights for essential workers. Like, you had to call in, and then I think you had to send them like a copy of your badge and all that. Good night, Kino. Good. It was good to see you, bud. You had to give them like a copy of your badge to show that you're working in the field or something like that. I don't know. There was a way to prove it, or you're supposed to show up with your badge or something like that when you actually come in for the night and all. But no, they gave away 50,000 free nights to essential workers, first come first serve, obviously, but to nurses and to doctors and to firefighters and grocery workers and all that. No resort fee, free of charge, just straight up.
That's pretty amazing. But I wonder what the public awareness of that activity was. I'm just wondering in chat, can you guys let us know? Did you know that was going on? Was that sort of in the consciousness? Because this is actually the first I've heard of that, but I'm massively impressed by it. But I'm not sure that word was getting out to the common folk like myself.
You see, I kind of wonder about it too. But I mean, the NYSE stock price, it didn't lie, man. It's looking pretty good. For like $47 a share. That's more than Caesars and MGM
Nice.
combined, and they literally have like nearly 2/3 of the strip if you put them together.
So it really is sounding like it's the cruise lines that are going on the real roller coaster ride, whereas Vegas seems to be, diversified enough and has deep enough pockets, Caesars notwithstanding, that they can ride it a little bit better. They look like they're in a better financial position.
Yeah, financially, I think they're going to be okay. I mean, you got to keep in mind these things have always been backed by eccentric billionaires and by other outfits that, well, let's say that these are outfits that have always had a lot of money. Organizations with a lot of liquid assets that may or may not be liquid assets that they want to keep for a long period of time. So I'll say that. But no, it's only relatively recently, that corporations have gotten into Vegas, and it still kind of shows, because you still do have a lot of these guys that run these casinos and all that. They're just kind of guys that, they have a lot of money. The Phil Ruffins of the world, the Sheldon Adelsons, the Donald Trumps and all that. They just got a lot of money. So they're like, hey, let's go ahead and put it into a casino over here, see if we can make some more of it. I mean, best way to make money in a casino, own one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, the old license to print money metaphor. And so that makes sense. But also the thing is that when you do have a lot of those personality types, the decision making is often driven as much by their personality as it is by solid business analysis and financial forecasts and things. So that, I think, can introduce an element of risk as well.
Yeah, and I mean, that's going to be anything that you kind of invest in. You're always going to have a risk, always going to have reward and all that. So, I mean, even stocks, it's risk and reward. It just depends on what you know, who you know, how much of whatever you know.
100%. And good instincts, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, final thoughts. Who do you think, so I know last time we talked about this, we talked about how much faith everybody has in going back to whatever casino empire it was. And I think last time it was Phil Ruffin was trash. Boyd was kind of at the I think the D tier. Phil Ruffin we wanted to kind of put below the trash and all that, but I think Boyd was lower D class in that area. Caesars was upper D class. I think we might have amended them to C later. Then we had MGM in the B class, and then it was Wynn and Venetian / Las Vegas Sands in the A class there. So just from our 4 contenders here, who do you think is going to do the best this June 4th reopening over here? Do you think it's going to be Las Vegas Sands and the Venetian? You think it's going to be Wynn with Wynn and Encore? You think Caesars is going to do well with Caesars Palace and Flamingo? Or do you think MGM is going to make the big comeback with Bellagio, MGM Grand, and New York, New York?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's all about whether they do it like in a really smart way. And for that, I'm seeing really good signs out of Wynn and Sands from what I'm hearing. And then I put MGM sort of in the middle. And so if I had to pick a loser, it would probably be Caesars. It just feels like they are feeling the pressure and they're rushing. And I think it shows a little bit, comes through a little bit. And so I think that if somebody's going to struggle, if somebody's going to run so quickly that they trip, I think it'll be Caesars.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too. I mean, I even analyzed their comeback plan that they released really late. Like when I did the analysis of which of the casinos was going to do well, they hadn't formally finished a plan yet nor released it. I don't think they released a plan until about 5 or 6 days later. So I didn't hear about their plan for a long time, so I'm not having a lot of faith in them, and most of it was just kind of copying MGM and Wynn and all that. Not that some of these standards aren't universal, but, there wasn't much to set them aside. There wasn't much to set them apart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cast any allegations that I can't back up, but just instinctually, it feels like they were watching what everyone else was doing to see just how hard they could push, how far they could potentially go to do as much to get open as quickly as possible.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today. I just wanted to go ahead and give one last shout out to our bud Ray from Vacation Impossible for coming out here. Especially, I know you're in the middle of rendering a video. What's your next video you got coming on?
Oh, actually, it's funny you ask. I had an interesting moment today because I was releasing the video of the buffets on the Carnival Vista,
Yeah, I saw
which
that.
I filmed back in January. And as it was rendering, I was thinking about how much stuff I've filmed that I've got ready to get out. And then I remembered, oh my God, I filmed so much stuff when you and I were in Vegas that I haven't released yet. I completely skipped it for the most part.
Put out some Vegas
So
stuff
I
because
need to
Vegas is
circle
coming back.
I need to, and now's the perfect time. So, that's my plan for tomorrow. Is I'm going to circle back over some of my Vegas footage. I did a walk down the strip. I did a bunch of stuff that I filmed when I was there. I did a silent mukbang at the MGM buffet. Yeah, I need to go back and look over that and see what's good to release for tomorrow. But that's my plan. The next few videos are going to be Vegas focused. So there you have it. You can join us there for those.
Right
Coming
on.
soon.
Good deal. All right, guys. Don't forget to go ahead and check out Vacation Impossible. We'll leave a link to them in the description box below. But until next time, friends, got to go ahead and drop off. Got to go ahead and got some story time with the little one. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So until next time, my Spinners and Sharks, this is Ace of Vegas and Ray from Vacation Impossible signing off. And we're both wishing you strong hands and, of course, happy spinning, you guys. All right. Good night, everyone.